Today I have with me again our lab school teacher who is in the third through sixth grade, and today we're going to talk about working with parents and how you make them feel like they're involved with their child and feel important. So my first question would be, how do you get your parents involved in the child's education?
Some things that we do, we encourage them. We have an open door policy. You're
Oh.
always welcome to come and observe and watch your child if you're interested in doing that. We would love for them, to help teachers out, cutting things out for us, making copies, things like that. So just to even get them on campus or in the classroom and seeing their child as a student in the classroom, that's one thing that we do. But field trips or sending things home, a lot of parents work and they're not able to
Yes.
come up to school, and so sometimes they'll say, yeah, but we'd love to, I can cut things out if you'll send that home with my kid, or type up stories, or just there's a myriad of ways. But realizing that they are a valuable part of what we're doing, I think, is important. So
Yes. Okay. Okay, what particular strategies do you help to facilitate the growth of the students?
well, there's lots of different things that I do. Often at times, like I said, the reading for fluency, we'll do different things to really bring that out. We'll be in a group, and I believe that every child in a reading group has a job, whether you're listening and following along with the reader. And I tell them up front, some readers will read faster than you, some readers read slower than you, but it is your job to know wherever the reader is at, you need to be following along with them. And then if it's your turn to read out loud, if you get hung up on a word or you get struggling with things, talking about different strategies to figure things out and stuff like that. But another thing that I do in my reading groups that I think is important, not only just reading out loud, but understanding the story, talking about it, kind of, we have more like a book talk than anything.
Oh.
So as things are happening throughout the chapter, man, why do you think the author put that in there? Or why do you think those things were phrased that way? So just really trying to bring out those comprehension strategies of author's purpose and sequence of the story and things like that. And then usually I'll do some type of written follow-up with what we've read for that day. And even though we may have read as a community or as a whole group, I will have it be where they do a written response privately. And so I'll write something on the board that may have been, why do you think the author did this? Or what do you think will happen next? And get some predictions in there. And then they have to do a written response independently. And then oftentimes when we come back, we'll start the next group off with how we answered those questions and kind of get us back into the text again, get us thinking about where we left off, and then ready to move forward. So,
Do you ever use Reader's Theater?
I do use Reader's Theater. That is a loved thing. They enjoy that very much. And I do that where you read through the text. You can sometimes I'll let them self-select the parts they want to play, and then we do a lot of practice. And that's probably the biggest time that I really critique how you sound and how fluent you are. So I use those quite a bit to really drive that, getting from I'm not a very fluent reader to trying to be better at that. And so, but they love to do that. And then I always make sure we have an audience to perform in front of.
Good.
So I think there's value in having to give that to somebody else.
Yes.
And so whether that be we go and visit another classroom to share that with a group of students, or we present it to the whole class of third through sixth, so we make it be a big deal to present, and we
That's
want to
good.
do that as well as we possibly can. So it kind of gives that extra leverage of them, well, I really want to sound good. And so they even have the opportunity to take their parts home and practice and stuff like that.
Good.
So it's not one of those things that we just get and then the next day we perform. I really try and have it be something that they develop and work on. So.
Oh, good. Thank you. So my last question is, what type of assistance do you give to the student who is far behind the others and is really struggling?
With that, I've done some different things. I've done some pull-out one-on-one.
Okay.
I schedule within our day some independent reading time where that's usually done silently, and oftentimes during that time of the day is when I'll pull a student out. And I don't just pull them so it's not obvious you're the bad reader, but I'll pull them out and say, hey, I want you to read this paragraph to me, and then we'll work on ways of really, a lot of times what I discover is that they still struggle a lot with just decoding words, and they get hung up on things, and so I'll let them, point out, okay, well, what would make sense here, and we still kind of go back to some of those early reading strategies. Did that sound right? Does that make sense with what you're reading? And then, so strong teacher support, but I try and also give them ways to figure out, all right, if I don't have a teacher around, what can I do? And we make available the computer. They can go to like a website and look up the word, and oftentimes you can type in the word and they'll pronounce it for you.
Yeah.
They can read what it means. So realizing that they don't have to just ever be stuck. There are ways to figure out what you don't know. And so it may not be that a teacher's always handy, but you can maybe ask a neighbor or go to the computer or figure out some other tool so you don't just stalemate out and not do anything. But really trying to just come alongside them and help them walk through and give them the belief that they can do it, they can figure it out, and that they can move forward with the text. So.
Very good. Thank you.
Well, thank
we
you.
We really appreciate that you came in today. That's very nice of you. Today I have with me again our lab school teacher who is in the third through sixth grade, and today we're going to talk about working with parents and how you make them feel like they're involved with their child and feel important. So my first question would be, how do you get your parents involved in the child's education?
Some things that we do, we encourage them. We have an open door policy. You're
Oh.
always welcome to come and observe and watch your child if you're interested in doing that. We would love for them, to help teachers out, cutting things out for us, making copies, things like that. So just to even get them on campus or in the classroom and seeing their child as a student in the classroom. That's one thing that we do. But, field trips or sending things home. A lot of parents work and they're not able to
Yes.
come up to school. And so, sometimes they'll say, yeah, but we'd love to, I can cut things out if you'll send that home with my kid, or type up stories, or just, there's a myriad of ways. But realizing that they are a valuable part of what we're doing, I think is important. So.
Yes. Okay. The second question is, what are some of the useful ways that you communicate with parents that you find is really helpful to get messages to them?
Well, we have a folder that
Oh.
is called an assignment folder, and that is something that our students have to take back and forth home to school every day. And we expect that the parents look in that folder. There's the front pockets for homework and notes. The back pocket is any finished work that's been graded that they can just take out and keep. But in there is a sheet that the student's able to write any type of assignment that they have down as homework. And then also there's boxes for the parent to be able to comment to the teacher, or a box for the teacher to be able to comment to the parent. So sometimes there's some daily dialogue that happens, but we always ask that the parents sign off so we know that they're looking in that folder and seeing either the work that's been done or comments that might be made. Another thing we do to communicate with parents is we send home a million notes. It seems like, update them, tell them, things that are coming up, things to look forward to, invitations, maybe we're having like a donuts for dad one morning or muffins for mom. And so just making them aware of what's happening in our community at school and including them as many ways as possible. We also do things like parent-teacher conferences, as well as meet the teacher night.
Oh.
We even have it be when school starts out that they can come up to the classroom, meet the teacher, kind of get a chance to see, where am I going to be at? What are things going to look like? And stuff like that. So really just, letting parents know that they can always have communication with us, be it on phone call, email, or written in their daily folder.
Very good. Yes. Do you ever encounter parents that are too involved?
That's an interesting question to ask, because a part of you want to say, no, you can never be too involved with your kid's education. But then there are some of the parents that really are too involved, and they almost take on the work themselves to do.
Oh,
And
yes.
so we've seen that sometimes in some take-home projects. It'll be far more parent done than it is kid done. So in that aspect, sometimes you have a little that are too involved, or some that kind of want to micromanage everything, and they struggle to let their kid take ownership of their learning, to take responsibility for bringing that folder back or something like that. And so in that sense, you have a little, maybe too much involvement, may not be necessarily a word, but maybe they hover a little too much, or they want to take on and do these things for their kids instead of allowing them that natural progression of maturity and development and ownership in the kid's education. Because ultimately, that's the goal, is you can't learn for your child. they have to learn for themselves and be able to move forward with that.
So true, so true. How do you set up your parent-teacher conferences? Do you let the child be involved? What do you do with parent-teacher conferences?
We've kind of done different things over the years. I think the one that we feel is really the most beneficial and probably the most direct, because parents' time is precious, teachers' time is precious, is we really just do a parent-to-teacher conference. If the child is there, they're welcome to sit in and listen, but it's not something that we do as kind of a presentation of like a portfolio type setting. What we do is really, I said, scrap that, rewind, that doesn't.
Okay, my next question is, how do you set up your parent-teacher conferences? Do children come?
We have tried different things over the years, and I think our preferred way is just having it be the teacher and the parents. We have found that you're kind of able to be a little bit more open and direct if there's behavioral issues or if there are some academic things. It's funny how parents don't necessarily want their kids to hear how great they are. Like, that gives them an entitlement that they don't have to behave in class or so. So they'll often say, oh, well, I'm not going to let my kid know that. And so I think that's interesting. So I think there's a sense of being able to be really more open and say things that might need to be said when a child is not included in the conference. However, if the child shows up, I mean, we love them right on into the group and get to have them, hear the wonderful things that we're saying about it. I do believe that every parent-teacher conference has got to start off with positive. I think a parent has to hear that you see and identify great and wonderful things about their kids, because they see great and wonderful things about their kids. And so, always starting it off with a positive, and then if there are some areas that you need to, that are of concern or things that you've been working on, I try not to bombard them at the conference, like that's the first time they're hearing about it, but refer back to, oh, I'm sure you saw that science paper that they didn't score so well on that test, or we talked about this, and that might be something that they've already seen written in that assignment folder. So it kind of gives a little precursor of what might be talked about. But really, I think parents, they want to hear about their kids. They love all the wonderful, great things, and I think at that conference, if you can win them over again, seeing that we're a team, we're working on this together, then you're really able to move forward with their education.
So true, so true. The last question is, what suggestions do you give to parents so that they can help their child at home?
Read. No, it's funny because you get to older grades and parents think that they really can be hands-off with that, but we still encourage out loud reading to be able to, work on that comprehension. Still have dialogue with your kid. Don't let them just go sit in their room and you never know what in the world they're reading or what's happening, because they're great at looking at pages, type stuff. And so we do expect homework every night. We expect our children to read for 20 minutes every night. We feel like a little bit along the way as opposed to a big, crunch night. So we look for that. We also, when you get into upper grades, there's other things going on like multiplication facts and stuff like that. And we don't just give homework to give homework. Usually it's an assignment that's been given in class and they haven't had enough time to finish it. So any type of things like that, we expect, parents to oversee, and again, that's written down in that assignment folder so that they can make sure that those areas are being covered. But really just checking in with their student more than anything, knowing that, I care about you, I want to know what happened to you today, and, what we can do to move forward and be prepared for tomorrow. So.
Good. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate you coming in again today. Thanks.